the 93rd episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the first day of June 2012. This episode is titled Demystifying Buddies. CloudFocus Week is sponsored by Arkus, Cloud Computing Experts. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me for the 93rd time in a row is Justin Elstein. Justin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. The weather's nice. Temperature's nice.
It is. It's dropped down.
I'm comfortable.
Very nice.
93 in a row. Haven't even skipped one.
You haven't even skipped one. It would be funny if I did one without you. Just literally.
It probably wouldn't be funny. Probably be awful.
We could have a guest speaker.
Oh, all right.
I could think of a couple.
Okay.
Like this monkey here in the corner.
You just made that up. I don't see a monkey.
All right. We have an agenda today. We'll talk about the blog post du jour, which actually is yours this week, which I've been seeing get some feedback across the social network, which is kind of interesting.
Has it really?
Yes, it has. And then Google announces new Chromebook and Chromeboxes. We'll talk about that and what that means for the sort of cloud computing OS. Some interesting takes on that. And then the rumor of the week, which is not a small one, is that Salesforce is set to buy Buddy Media for a small amount of money, which we'll talk about, making their biggest purchase ever. I don't think it's official yet, but it seems to be one of those rumors that can't not be official. It's just like someone hasn't figured out the press release. But let's start with the best things of all. Let's start with the blog from blog.arkusinc.com, which is this week called...
You're asking me to step in there?
Yeah, because it's your blog.
It was mine. Demystifying Salesforce portals.
Wow. So what is that about?
Why is that so funny?
I don't know. It seems it's pretty geeky, but it's all right. I like it. Let's go. Let's talk about it.
Well, you could have changed it. You're the editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
You could have, before you put it up on the web.
I liked it.
It was good.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Well, I'll just talk high level because we want people to go read it. But we have a few customers who use Salesforce's portals for a variety of different purposes. Mm-hmm. And it's always the question up front of what are these portals, first off? What can I do with them?
Right.
And then there's a few of them, so which one should I use and how does that work? And what can this one do versus this one? And what can the users of this one do versus the users of that one? So I set off to write I stayed kind of high level, but a concise overview of, a few use cases, pretty standard ones at that, for using different Salesforce portals, what they are useful for, some of the differences between the two, what certain users can do in the partner portal versus what users can do in the customer portal, and some considerations for when you're looking to do a portal project yourself. And also just giving some nice, here are some of the benefits types of things around the portals, like, allowing customers or partners into your back-end system without building out this entire new infrastructure to allow them to do that with integrations and data flowing between different systems. It's all nice on one platform, same data, different views, but a really nice, I think portals are really, really powerful. They're just confusing. Which one should I use? What do they do? What can a user do versus can't do? So tried to take some of the mystery out of it.
Yeah, it is. Every time we get into discussion, I feel like I have to say, okay, we're going to discuss portals now, and we're going to do 10 minutes. Because you can't just say, Salesforce has this portal thing, and it's easy. There's lots of pros and cons. There's lots of differences. There's lots of use cases. And there's lots of things that one can do versus the other. Then you throw in things like Salesforce to Salesforce, which is another way of sharing your data with another instance, so another Salesforce instance. And then you throw in stuff like customer groups, my new enemy in life, customer groups.
You hate customer groups.
I do hate customer
groups. We should go off on a rant on customer groups one day.
Well, for those who want to pay attention now, we added a couple into our org to test them out, and the technology, fine. I love the concept, that it's a chatter customer group. You can add in people. But what it does to your org is not good. It basically creates users, real users that show up in all the places that users show up. That's no good. They show up in your calendar views. They show up in your invitees. They show up in, I think I came up with like 6 places that I
Yeah,
kept
if
seeing
you're
them.
sending an email from Salesforce, they show up as people in your org that you can include in the to CC and BCC.
And if you think about that,
they're in weird places that they shouldn't
They
be.
should not be anywhere near those places because it's very confusing. And all of a sudden, it looks like this customer is part of your org.
For our listeners out there who want to participate, as soon as I noticed this proliferation of users starting to happen, I went to the Ideas Exchange and put an idea out there around. It was more specific, like get customer group users out of my calendar views,
right?
Something along those lines. Search the Idea Exchange, you'll find my idea, and vote for it.
I just don't know why they're. I mean, I get why architecturally they're users, but they shouldn't be. All the managing of that customer should be done inside the group itself. Like, you should be able, as a manager, to go in and add people, delete people. It shouldn't proliferate anywhere else in the system. I don't want to see it anywhere else. It should be just in that chatter group, nowhere else. That's it. Anyway, so your blog post, very good. Go read about it. Again, it's going to help you because it gives you sort of a high level, but you definitely have to talk to someone if you're thinking about doing customer portal stuff. Again, really the biggest question I always get is, what is the what's the difference between, customization of a customer portal or partner portal, and what do I get out of the box? And there's a cliff, right? There's like, you get out of the box this very basic looking 1990 something or 2002 Salesforce instance.
I called them boxy and square.
Yeah, boxy and square. Very little customization, colors, logo, that's it. And then there's like a cliff to, oh, you want to go full custom? Great, but you're doing Visualforce at that point, and pages and sites, and you start to get into this like another round of stuff, which is not. It's not easy. There's no WYSIWYG for it. Now maybe with the new designer stuff they'll help out with that, but we'll see. So anyway, go to blog.arkusinc.com and read up on that. Next up, Google, almost a year, was it a year ago? I think we talked about it. I think it was a year ago. It must have been like in last June or July, because one of the aforementioned people was here and they went and I think got one, and we talked about it. So Google last year announced basically a hardware that runs their operating system, Chrome, which is confusing because Chrome is also the name of their browser, but so it's basically a laptop that only ran a cloud OS. So everything you did on it, downloaded from the internet, it was all based on basically a browser. Didn't have very much, hard drive or anything. It was just all based on stuff you did on the internet. Low cost, under $500, and updates and secure and multi-user, because you're basically in a little bit, you're kind of logging into a Chrome browser on this machine. Lots of battery life because you're not using a lot. Built-in 3G. That was last year. We tested one. Someone came to the office. We had one. We played around with it. We thought, okay, but not powerful enough to do what you really want to do, and too high priced to do to be that limited. So we tested the startup times and all that, and it couldn't match it. Then you take out your iPad and you say, okay, for the same price, for $500, I get this, and look at all the stuff I can do with it. So here we are a year later. New iPads have come out, new functionality. I just traveled for 2 days and almost exclusively use my iPad, and I've gotten into just incredible use on it now, like business use. So Google has released 2 new things. One, a new Chromebook, which is a new laptop, and then what looks very much like a Mac Mini, a Chromebox, which is a little miniature, OS-driven, device.
I like the look of the Chromebox.
Yeah?
I'm just looking at it. It looks kind of cool. Again, it looks kind of like an Apple TV or a Mac Mini. It looks really cool. It's got a bunch of outputs. Like, it looks like you can output this thing to a number of different devices. It's got a lot of, I don't know, from a hardware perspective, it's got everything you need. USB ports and outputs to VGA and outputs to DVI and HDMI. And again, it just runs Chrome, right?
The Chrome OS, which has more features than the Chrome browser, but in essence, you logging into it through a Google account, it downloads all your stuff, and you can do tons of stuff with it. it's interesting. You talked about it being Apple TV. I was more thinking of a Mac Mini.
It looks like an Apple TV to me.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. You certainly, if it could take a wireless keyboard, I could see it maybe as an interesting way of setting it up against a TV and using it against a TV for all that, TV goodness, Flash and stuff that Apple TV can't do. A little on the high side since Roku and Apple TV are $99. But apparently the new OS is very fast. It's got much better, and it's got Google Drive integration. So then you can actually do offline viewing of documents through this. So then you kind of you're seeing where they're going with this. You have Google Drive. You have all your documents in Google Drive. You can do offline viewing. So then the one complaint of the Google OS was there's no data. I can't get to stuff I need to get to, PDFs, Word doc, Well, now, if everything's in Google Drive, it'll all be there for you. So, and then you can use it offline. So, I'm sort of like I was last year. I was kind of like, ooh, I want to buy one. So I was looking into buying one. I really just want to play with it. I really want to test it and say I want to take a day and just see what I can do on it.
It looks like it can read files but can't edit files offline.
Right.
Yeah, there's still things that it's just like, I don't know. This could be my second device, but I'd just rather have an
well, that's the other thing. What is it giving me? I mean, it's the same size and weight as a MacBook Pro, or roughly, but 1/100th of the power.
Yeah.
Right, and I can boot up Chrome and do everything. So that's the only thing I think. So it can't do anything that my laptop can't do. Like, what does it do that my laptop can't do?
It doesn't seem like it could do anything that your laptop can't do, except cost half or a third of the price.
Well, that's true. So I think
I could even see this being like for a salesperson who's really just using online tools or cloud tools like Salesforce and Google Docs, and they have their Gmail, and that's about all they're doing. This wouldn't be too bad.
Why do we always just say that about salespeople? It's like they don't do anything.
Well, they don't need Excel to crunch crazy financial figures. They're just doing things in the cloud.
You talk to someone who sells loans, they would be like, yeah, I do. I got to punch in all these loan stuff.
You just punch it in.
Hit
play.
I just think it's funny that salespeople
I went to salespeople.
They're always the
They're
lowest.
traveling. They're like travelers.
They're always the lowest.
They're roamers.
They're not real computer users.
They're not real people.
Yeah. Apologies to all you salespeople out there. Live long and prosper.
We have Salesforce admins, not Salesforce. The actual Salesforce listening to this show.
People. That's true.
So they know it. They're with me.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, whatever.
They're with me. They're like, yeah, right on, Justin.
Stupid salespeople. So anyway, I think it's cool. You gonna buy one?
No.
Would you take the challenge if someone said, "Here's one"? Could you spend a day on it and try to do nothing else?
I'd take the challenge. I don't know if.
I mean, you're a Google Apps user, so everything you do is either in Safari. In
Chrome is my main browser too.
And you do syncing and all that. You have all that set up. So like in this way, it would literally sync down all your stuff, all your bookmarks, all your everything.
What do I need syncing for now, currently?
Well, because you might use it on two different computers.
Well, I only have one computer.
Right. Well, I have it syncing because if I go log in, we were in training last year. When I logged in to that machine down there, I turned on syncing and it downloaded. It basically created my Chrome right there on that machine instantly.
Gotcha.
It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would I? I could see myself using one of these things or being able to. I mean, a lot of the things I do is right on the web, so I would be able to get by most days, but there are days where I would not be able to. Like, it just wouldn't work out. Data loading,
GoToMeeting,
web meetings, things of that. I mean, that just throws it right out of the window. Until Salesforce comes out with the screen sharing capabilities, but for now, I don't think I could work on one of these machines full time, but I can probably get away with working on it most of the time.
Right. I really think of students. I think of like if you had an organization, a university that was literally on the Google Apps platform, and everybody had everybody had the mail, everybody had the docs, and that's how you did all your sharing, and that's how you did. Like, you could just hand this low-cost computer to someone and say, this is it. This is all you need in life. You don't need anything else.
You can create a site for your class.
Right. Wikis, blogs,
whatever it is.
Sharing files, email, which is 90% chat. You get the Google Suite. So, interesting stuff. we'll see if the person who bought one last year, if he goes and buys another one. I told him to return it
I
last year.
asked him if he uses the one that he has, and he said very rarely.
Yeah, he said he wants to take it to the beach, and I'm like, he went on a $400 beach toy.
He went on vacation. He said he brought it instead of bringing his laptop.
But he has a smaller, more powerful laptop.
Yeah,
That's what's crazy.
I know. He said he brought that and his iPad, and the reason was there was some reason I can't remember, but he did.
All right. Other things that haven't happened is Salesforce. There's rumors hit the street in the last 2 days that Salesforce might buy, or is in the process of buying, Buddy Media for $800 million.
That's a lot of money.
I think the tagline was, let's see if yes, it was.
Why don't you tell me what Buddy Media is?
So Buddy Media, as far as I understand, with my small amount of research on it, is a social media management application for Facebook. So whereas Radian 6 is a monitoring, and you can monitor what's going on in the world, one of the things we've always said is, yeah, but I can't manage what's going on Facebook with Radian 6. It's more about monitoring. It's more about connections and keywords. This is about, I want a tool that I can actually easily interact with the stuff that's in Facebook using this. And I think it's, it builds in the analytics, and it's obviously tied into the API. But basically, if you had 10 or 15 pages, and you could manage all the activity and delete things, and basically instead of having to go to Facebook to do it, you could do it from this console, which I could see for companies that are managing products and brands. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/ArkusInc. But if we had 17 different pages, to jump around and do all the stuff, that might be more difficult. Plus, with lots of activity on them, you'd have to monitor what's going on, and getting an email or two from Facebook isn't, that's not helpful. So this way, I think it's a full-blown management tool, and probably with plugins and things like that, you can build up stuff that then interactive with it. So building like Facebook plugin pages or whatever they're called, using their markup language. That's about as much as I know. Where does that fit in the Salesforce suite? Well, it fits right there, right? It's the Salesforce is the social. Salesforce wants to become the social media manager, right? They want to become the social enterprise by saying, this is also, not only do you manage all your customer relationship data and stuff, this is also where you manage your social world. You manage it from within Salesforce. This is the tool you use. You monitor, right? You do your cases. You do your marketing. So you do your social marketing through Salesforce, and you can see these kind of like clicking into these pieces. Like, oh, I can now I can monitor the activity. I can manage the activity. I can use cases and things to support the activity. You can see this sort of vision coming up. Hire me. I'm available. Mark, just call me up. Just kidding. Well, that's been a good yarn. I mean, it might be total BS. That's what I was thinking.
It sounds right about. I mean, I doubt that they'll ever that you'll ever see. Well, I shouldn't say ever, because ever's a long time, but not necessarily within Salesforce. It might be within a Salesforce owned entity. Like Radian 6, I don't know if you'll ever see Radian 6, the tool, inside of Salesforce. It's its own tool. It might integrate.
It's going to integrate.
Yeah, it's going to. And
I think the plan would be to have it fully integrate. That it's no longer. It will eventually,
just like an app.
Yeah, it'll be like Data.com. It'll be like Data.com. Data.com is a tab. Yeah. Basically, I think that's what it'll be.
Like the site.com type of thing,
yeah,
where it's like its own tool, looks different, acts different. But
I think that's the way to go. They're just different licenses. They're feature licenses on top of your platform, and they're going to break them out as also. Data.com is a feature license. Site Builder, whatever, Site Tools is a feature license, and there's going to be a bunch of feature licenses to do everything from content management to HR management, human resource capital management, to social media, marketing management. You can just see these chiclets showing up. Yep. I think the stuff like Heroku probably will never come in. That seemed more about people and like technology than it did about a product. So anyway, this is my thoughts. But I mean, if it is true and it's a purchase, that's their biggest purchase ever, which is massive. We talked about the ones we've seen, like I mean, the big purchases recently. That's up there almost around $1 billion.
It's a big one.
It's getting there. All right.
Hopefully, it goes a little better after the fact than the Radiant 6.
You want to have a Radiant 6 rant?
I'm gonna hold off for a week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him a week.
One more week?
One more week.
We've been trying for months. So what, are you just giving, like 6 months isn't enough?
I've been trying some other sources to...
Oh, you're saying so maybe... I'm going to give the low level. I won't give the high level. We won't get into because we might hurt some people's feelings. As a partner of Salesforce, it has been extremely difficult to get a sense of, a version of, a demo of, a license to test anything to do with Radiant 6. And as a partner who is selling or helping sell Salesforce technologies and whose clients come to us all the time and say, hey, I want to integrate this, I want to build off this, I want to use this tool, and I want you, Arkus, to help me out, not having the access to the tool is difficult. And I guess it's contrasting against our access to the Salesforce set of tools, right? We can boot up orgs, we can test drive, different types of licenses, we can do all sorts of stuff like at our whim. And so this one, having no access and having it be sort of so siloed, and it feels very siloed, and it is siloed. Even like data.com is pretty siloed too. It's frustrating.
It's extremely frustrating.
Right. I'm trying to put it's frustrating, and I think it's not the same company.
We're not the only ones feeling the pain. I'll say that. I've talked to
some other people,
some other folks who will remain nameless through various community channels.
Hey Sally, hey Mary,
no, stop it.
Hey Joe.
Those people don't even exist. And they're feeling the same feelings that we are. We just really want a demo, honestly, aside from what you can see at the Dreamforce booth console where they just show you a high level. And the disconnect and the frustration really stems from it being the hot, sexy thing and it being a cornerstone of what is being demonstrated and talked about on the keynote stages. And they show these really cool things and that's the marketing cloud, and then walk off the stage.
Right.
And it's like, all right, great. I want
the marketing cloud. It's
like 8 months later, and I want to try the marketing cloud just to see what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, no.
Not for you.
If you're not this level of partner or if you're not whatever, you can't even have access to that we're not even going to tell you when because we're not sure.
Yeah. I've heard about it through other channels, so I actually... So, as a side, I watch a video podcast called, it's from SEO Moz, and they do it's called Whiteboard Friday. Great podcast.
Yeah?
It's for SEO Google people, but it's great because he sits in front of a whiteboard and videos it, and he talks about subjects, about 9 minutes. I've actually been trying to get through the last 6 months of them because I've downloaded them all Instacast. What? And anyway, in one of them, he goes, monitoring the social media, and he goes, and here's one of the things, and he talked about Radiant 6, and he goes, Radiant 6, just way too expensive. I don't know how anybody would ever use that tool. And I was like, whoa, here's a big SEO company whose job it is to do this stuff, and they're calling it expensive. They don't see the value. I was like, wow. I think that's sort of the problem, and I just think it's totally separate from Salesforce. Salesforce has an entire ecosystem for partners and whatever. This is not Salesforce. It's still Radiant 6. It's its own company. Sure, it's owned by whatever, but there's silos, and they haven't crossed them, and the partner community is probably the last person to get them to cross. Hey, listen, if you called up and said, I have a $100,000 check I want to spend with you guys to get Radiant 6, you'd get a demo, right? Someone would give you a demo, and you could probably get in and use it, but they just haven't figured out how to get the partner community in using it.
While we're on this tangent to videos, I was looking at the Facebook page for Salesforce for the Summer 12 release. And they have a really good Ripple video.
Oh, really?
A really good Ripple video. And it uses, remember a couple weeks ago my pick was the RSA Animates
Yes.
where they draw like the whiteboard.
Yes.
It uses that. It was just an interesting thing. I was like, oh, that's so cool. They're
Is
using
it Ripple or is it Salesforce Ripple?
It
Like,
was Ripple.
Okay.
And then at the very end, they showed it integrated with Salesforce.
But that hasn't come out yet.
No,
it's supposed to be out
and
this
I
spring.
saw it nowhere in the actual. I looked in the Salesforce Summer 12 release notes, and I just did a find for the word Ripple.
Yeah.
It's 0 results. I did a find
R-I-P-P-L-E or
No,
R-Y-P-P-L-E?
I spelled it right.
Okay.
And I did the same thing for Radiant 6 and got 0 results. So neither of those two products are actually in the release notes, even though if you go to the Facebook page for the Summer 12 release, they both have videos. Ripple has a video and Radiant 6 has a video.
Because they said it's coming in spring.
Well, Ripple now, I logged into our Ripple account,
Oh, you
the
did?
free one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I watched the video. I'm like, oh, I want to log in. I want to play with this. So I logged in, and a lot of the things that I think we were able to do before, we can't do anymore. They're now not free.
Oh.
Like, you have to pay. Like,
There
I
might have
think
been
it
a
was,
trial we were on, too.
Well, it's still there, and I can still, like, comment on things. But other than that, I couldn't create, like, goals or milestones or groups or anything like that. I will say the video makes it look pretty awesome. So I feel like we should maybe take this offline, but I feel like we should use it maybe.
Are you? All right.
This is how we make decisions in the boardroom at
Yes.
Arkus.
This is not only the podcasting studio, it's also the boardroom.
Yes.
You're fired.
Oh, no.
Donald Trump.
Good
All right.
decision.
Yeah. All right. So let's go. Let's end up with going to our CloudFocus App Pick of the Week. That's my
Let's
decision.
do it.
Go for it.
All right. So I have a bunch of these lined up, but
I would say this one is kind of like this.
I'm
is
just
a
picking a
little
timely one
All
because it's
right.
out now.
Yeah,
New.
This is a little.
What's wrong with this one?
I don't know.
I've used it.
That's good. That's better than half your picks.
That's true.
Maybe that'll be in our 100th episode surprise. I'll have some
Which
sort
picks
of,
Justin's actually used.
I'll have a
that he
graph
picked.
of how many of you actually use versus you've said.
So it's a simple one. It's the no brainer. Someone asked me once, like, why didn't you pick this? And I'm like, everyone knows about it. I'm like, oh well, maybe I should pick it anyway. So I'm picking Facebook camera.
Oh, they asked you why didn't you pick something?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
They asked me like, oh, have you done that before? And I said no. They're like, why not? Well, everyone knows that one. So I'm gonna pick one everyone probably already knows about, and I don't care. Picking Facebook camera.
Okay.
It's free. It's a cool little. I have it on my iPhone.
Is it worth $1 billion?
No, and I don't feel like this is Instagram, even though it feels like Instagram.
I think they bought Instagram just
So they can put this out, probably.
Yeah.
So it's just a camera app for the iPhone that allows you to do some of the cropping and styling and I don't know what they call it, shading, whatever what are those called? Like layers or whatever.
Filters.
Filters, thank you. On top of photos and upload them directly to Facebook. You can also browse everybody else's photos, which I feel like a lot of people love to do. They just browse other people's photos, and it's just a quick, simple way to filter out the rest of the newsfeed and just look at photos on the mobile device. And I think Facebook is definitely banking on mobile as they move forward. And this is just one of the mobile apps that they have out there now, and I figured I would go ahead and pick it. Why not? It's free. You may as well have it on your phone. I use it. I look through people's photos and stuff. So
yeah, I mean,
I look at it as more of a viewer than of a actual like app to take. And I don't post a lot of photos on Facebook. If you were friends with me and you were to look at all the photos that I have in Facebook, they're usually of like food.
Right.
Yeah, they're like food. Oh, I'm eating something awesome at this new restaurant, so I'm gonna take a picture and put it on Facebook. That's most of my pictures are that and like of my cat.
Right.
So
I just have this feeling of like I don't know. So I've been using it. I downloaded it the other day and was playing with it, and it definitely feels like more of a browsing than it does a contributing.
Yeah, I like it for that though.
Yeah,
I use it to browse.
So it's just but it does have some of the same features that are inside of the phone of the app. I will say we talked about their IPO price going nowhere fast.
Nowhere.
Worst IPO in the last 10 years.
At this very moment, it's $27.68.
Time to buy. Anyway, I just feel like this is one of those. I don't feel like Facebook gets apps. Like, I've now played with all their apps. I played with all the ones. And where Instagram, and this is why they probably bought Instagram, is like, because clearly we don't know what we're doing, right? Like, I don't know if this is designers or developers or whatever, or their theories, but in all these splintered apps, like, why wouldn't this just be a feature of the other app?
I don't know. They splintered out another one too recently.
Messages.
Well, Messages has been split out, and they just did one Pages. So if you're a manager of a page,
Oh, really? Ooh,
yeah, did you
one-
not know about that?
one-
Should that one be my pick?
That should be.
Well,
pick.
they have
That's
two
that's
Pages.
A good one.
I'm a manager of 2 pages, and you log in and you basically can flip between your 2 pages, and you're now using Facebook as the manager of that page, and can upload new content, comment as the page owner, things of that nature.
Well, that one,
see statistics.
That one I'm going to download. That actually sounds like good.
All right,
but again,
so those are both
this,
my picks.
But all this splintering of the apps, it's just like build an app that does.
Well,
what
I don't
it does.
think their main app, the Facebook app, I don't feel like it's very good. It's slow. It's like loading too much content. Like, it's too much. So I feel like they did this just to sort of break it out because that thing is too slow.
Well, now
and Twitter is slow too.
Twitter's horrible.
I mean, it used to be so good, and then they released this new version. Like, and it's not even new anymore, which is even more absurd that it's still slow. Like 6 months ago.
Yep.
It's just I don't even want to use Twitter on my mobile anymore because it's too slow
to get to the ability to tweet. And I think that's what tweeting is about. Sometimes, like, oh, I have a funny thought, I want to share it, and you're like,
it should be so easy.
Yeah.
It's built into the OS of our phones at least.
Yeah.
I should be able to like triple click the button and type something in and it tweets.
Well, I think that's the way the operating system's moving.
It should, because it's built right in. It
but
should do that.
It's
or like swipe down and give me something, or like swipe over a few times.
Swipe over and
I don't
down.
know. Apple, figure it out.
Just do it. All right.
So
That's
my
a cool
pick. Facebook camera, and I'll throw the Facebook sites in there for free.
Nice.
They're both free.
They're free.
The Facebook pages, I should say.
Mine too is free, but mine's a web site. A service.
Okay.
Is called Indinero, and I think I've mentioned it before. I don't think I've picked it because I have
I'm navigating to it right now.
Yeah, I have not. I just went and searched on our blog, and I haven't picked it. But it is it is going on the line. I think maybe I've picked Mint before. This is sort of Mint for business.
Ooh.
So Mint is a website. So if you know what Mint is, that makes sense. You're like, oh, I know exactly what this is. If you don't know what Mint is now owned by Intuit. And it is sort of the online version of Quicken, which is that you give it a bunch of your accounts, your financial accounts, online passwords, username passwords, and goes out, and it takes in all the data, and then it builds your budgets and your charts and your stuff inside of Mint. And there's an iPhone, it can alert you of when you're going over budget and when you have big things happening. Okay, but it's really meant for people, not for businesses. So Indinero is the sort of Mint for business. So you sign up for it, you give it a username and password, and then you go in and add accounts. So you can add business accounts and business credit cards and whatever. And then what it does is it goes out to those accounts, pulls in all the activity, then builds your budgets, shows you where your spending is going, shows you where your cash flow is, what it gives you and does like business things, shows you where your cash flow is coming and going, what outstanding debts you have, where your income's coming from. So very much built around, sort of business stuff. It's not the best. I mean, it's certainly a good start. I actually signed up for it about a year ago, then forgot about it. Then they released some new features, so I went back in and started playing with it again, and it's neat. If you use QuickBooks or something like that, it doesn't have as much value because you can do 10 times more things in QuickBooks. But it can do things like alerting on if you want to have alerts happen on big things across all of your accounts, it can do that. And again, for a small business that maybe doesn't want to run QuickBooks or doesn't have to, but wants some of that status reporting or that sort of cash management stuff, Indinero, kind of cool. It's dinero like the Spanish
like
word,
money?
Spanish word for money. So
right
it's
on.
Indinero, and it's indinero.com. INDINERO.com. There's a free version of it, and then there's a I guess you can pay for more stuff. But it's pretty cool. So give it a shot and let me know. Again, small business owner type of stuff. It seems like they're going to do more as time goes on, which I'm kind of excited about. So it's sort of something to watch in the future. All right. Well, speaking of things you should watch, you should definitely go to blog.arkusinc.com where you can get all the podcasts and all the old blog posts, including a new feature we're going to be rolling out soon. So stay tuned on that. We'll be rolling out something cool on the blogs or on the podcast. See if you can figure it out. I think I might do it for this podcast as a test. So that's your incentive to go there. And follow. You can subscribe and RSS and all that. We're at twitter.com/ArkusInc, twitter.com/Jason M. Atwood, and then twitter.com/JustEdelstein. We're also on facebook.com/ArkusInc. We're on Google Plus. Everybody's on Google Plus. And you can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes or any of your other podcast subscription services. But iTunes is probably the most known. So you can go there and leave a review. That's another place you can leave a review or comments. We'd love to hear you there. Until next week, we'll be back with another episode of CloudFocus Weekly. Until that time, stay cloudy.